Om Shanti. These are two Sanskrit words, as I remember, which means I, the soul, or you can call a being, happy, blissful being exists in a state of calm, compose, and what we experienced with the meditation. And the state of peace basically is the belonging of this being in the body. And we are all searching for it at one point in time or the other, which is why sometimes we attend some of these classes, get closer to the source where it comes from. Only by saying the two words, it makes me feel as if I'm revoking or resonating the consciousness where makes me believe that these qualities come from the inside. So today we are here for an opportunity where we can discover our true self. So discover, first, if I look at that word discover, if I break it into two, dis-cover, it's like uncover the layers. Like in science, I heard that knowing yourself, myself, is the beginning of all the wisdom that we come to know. And with this practice today, the way I'm navigating the conversation, I created a platform where putting, say, about 6 questions, which are going to reveal the true self, reveal the purpose of life. Let me put it like this, because to truly know myself, yourself, is the most important skill all of us possess. Think of it like this, that when I know who I am or who you are, you probably would understand what I need to do or you need to do, instead of looking like we always do, seek permission from others, approval from others about ourselves, our work, or what you already know that you ought or you should do. I believe knowing, with all this journey over the years, that knowing deeper myself inside, to discover the layers, to uncover the titles, the roles, the labels that we have, all of this, truly it allows all of us to bypass tons of frustration caused by putting all of these, I would say maybe a little bit stronger word, all of putting the time into the wrong things. One day if somebody says, oh, you're looking wonderful, you're a wonderful person, how I perceive it, how I don't perceive it. Yes, life is supposed to be full of a lot of trial and error, but this particular journey that we are on today will help us all find the best, what should I say, areas or best qualities for all of us to experience and experiment yourself within the first place. It is me, the beautiful life within this. Maybe today I'm wearing a white little shawl, and inside this, structure, like in a beautiful, maybe say for instance, a car, who is the one who's the driving force. So today, once hopefully by the time we conclude the session, we know ourselves a little bit better in a different perspective, the way I tried to put it in my mind. We will become more confident. You will understand your purpose, hopefully, and you will begin, or all of us will start to make a little bit bigger impact on this world. Because, like I said, 6 areas I have, thought of in my mind that I'll address today and make it more evident and clearer how I would like to talk about this topic. So how can you know who you are, to what extent, and what you ought to do in life? I have taken the first step, divided into 6 steps maybe. The first step in knowing my true self, in a general person's language, which I believe a very small child or age-old person can understand as well, is, we call it in more deeper language silence, or I could say be quiet. But not that I'm always not speaking, but the quiet inside. I totally believe that I can't be very outwardly quiet as well or internally quiet as well unless I have taken out the time to be very still within the self. And many of my friends, they tell or they say that when we're sitting in a discussion that, we are very scared to be alone. Being still is not alone, right? Because many people don't know themselves, because any sort of silence, let's put it in a normal person's, humans, we are so keeping ourselves so surrounded with noise and things that are happening around us. It becomes like this, let me put it like this, that silence scares some people. It's too uncomfortable for some to be alone with every flaw. They say that it seems as if, my shortfalls, my pitfalls are like kind of staring back at me or them. But it isn't that you really, really, up until the time that we get alone, I get a chance to evaluate myself. I get a chance to completely, let's be very, very complete, absolutely truthful to myself, that I will actually be able to see every, I would say, if I'm sitting this way, that with complete honesty, every piece and parcel, like a facet of our life, the good and the, you can call it a stronger word, good or the bad. Be quiet and discover your true self. The soul, or we can say that lovely life that we all feel within ourselves, the calm, the mind, and the peace. It becomes yours, like more and more, if, let's put it like this, like observing yourself is the necessary starting point, I would say, to any journey in life for a real change. Observe the self. We always say that, when I am going to make a change in myself, everything changes. A child looks up to a mother all the time. And, if we are expecting, which is a very, very strong word, but if we are, looking forward to something changing, first has to change in me, because that changes my perspective towards it. So be quiet. I made it my first reveal your life purpose, to discover the very, very true inner self. I would take it as a first step towards the journey, is being quiet. Then, moving a little bit forward, I would say that realize who you truly are, not who you really want to be. Because like we deal in everyday life with our family, our office, people we know, friends, everybody puts a layer on us, or a title or a role or a label on us. So, we already know, I know, that we already have a set idea of who we totally internally want to be. But maybe, the way we lived our lives, the way we were raised, the way we got together with people, I never came out, my personality, which we will discuss. I made a few points in my mind to discuss about what is a personality as well. I'm not the way maybe I were designed to be, let's say. How are we designed to be is that lovely, peace, beautiful, smiling, happy, always ever clean, pure. So knowing, basically, I put it like this, who you really are is so important. So when you know who you are, how does that help me? We will finally see where you and your, maybe where mine and yours true specific gifts are, the virtues are within the, and they fit into within the self, and they fit into the bigger picture. You will notice that there are many, many points in our journey in life that, help us discover the best way to begin, our self testing, or I take it like a personality test in a simple person's language, even a child can understand, like kind of we do on the treadmill, a fitness test. So maybe my strengths, like a finder test for my strengths. So if I can find those strengths and where they lie within the self, I think, and I believe truly and strongly, it's going to be the first milestone towards knowing and discovering the self. But on the hindsight, we don't want anybody to believe that these kind of, I would say, evaluations are not going to be perfect. Nobody is perfect, but they do pinpoint the top areas where I can say I am going to, write down maybe my strengths, areas of my strengths. I can focus on the change that needs to be and what I was meant to be to bring into this world, basically. So we can take it like this, that I play a role when that becomes playing that role, maybe a mother, like I'm an 8-year-old person's mom, when that role becomes so much ingrained in me that it becomes my consciousness, my identity, my kind of my piece and parcel, then the roles what we play, basically, if we are making them our identity, it is going to impact my thinking, my role there. Already the thinking is impacting the way I feel. Today's hot, or she's a wonderful person, how I feel about it, that feeling will make it happen to a attitude, what we call, and an attitude into obviously becomes the way I act with people. And that acting means not artificial acting, but that acting that comes in the form of acts becomes obviously eventually a few times when I do that little act of complimenting, of doing something certain way, it obviously becomes my habit. And that habit, basically an overall formula, 4 is equal to 1, makes it a personality. That's what we're trying to do, connecting the dots, that okay, well, I'll do a personality test and see where is it that I need to change. Because if I could see the result of myself change in the mirror of others and the situations in which I find myself, in the mirror of others and the situations I find myself in, that's where real strength finder test is. Today is very hot, but which is the way I'm looking at it, right? She's not being very nice to me in the office, but which is the way I look at it. I meet someone, I create a thought, wonderful person, and I feel, then I behave. Behavior will impact many things in life. And that's why I'm discussing this, is because these, sometimes we make an attempt to understand on a path where we are already from thought to feeling to a little bit of an attitude to action to personality. But my realization comes to me about that little thing only when I'm maybe a little bit before the action. So many times we are checking at feeling level. Many times we are going to check at some other level, which may be like a little bit beyond. So pause and think for a minute, that is there a way that before this little role, this identity, this act becomes positive is very good, but if it is causing me a situation where all of us are today looking to change something, what level that change needs to be made? Is it at the level of attitude? Is it at the level of perspective? Is it at the level of when our personality is made, when it comes to behavior? Or should I just retrieve a step back and say it is at the level where my mind starts to produce the thoughts? I believe that, and we all know that in the process where we are learning, the knowledge that we've learned all through with, process of meditation, or, it is our aim is to work the first step first. The 4 stages, if we say, okay, well, it's at the thought level, then I have to eliminate those challenges at the level of thought. And that's where it's discovering the self. If I'm only altering the body with, homeopathic doctor giving me some medicine, and some medicine coming in from the allopathic doctor, if there is an ailment in the body, and there is no cure at the level of inner work, there is no inner work that's being done, then the thought, that the seed, the originating point is not taken care of, where the seed is the place where I started thinking about this, it's pretty hot today or cold today. So that thought was the place where I need to make the correction. So we are in a very automated mode these days, that we work, that we live our lives, and that inner process somewhere remains hidden. As I repeat the pattern, as I do it over and over again, we all call it a habit, it becomes a habit. And have to, I have to understand that everything that I will be doing will start at a level where it originates from. You start a house, building a house, your first thing is the foundation. If the package of all your ingredients is correct, the foundation is going to be strong. So package of all of these habits that we all form towards our lifestyle, they are basically giving us a nutshell that, okay, the crux of all of this is going to be my personality, me, the person, the personality. So thoughts, the feelings, the actions, you can say personality. The next step being is my, people say, well, what do thoughts create? Bhagya, we call destiny, right? We call destiny in Hindi bhagya. So if bhagya is supposed to, destiny is being made, how is it being made? With that action? Or if I'm willing to have a better destiny, am I going to decide to look inwards and be able to work on that thought process? Because if you really think, if I had not thought, say for instance getting angry, if I did not think of it at a level, I wouldn't feel, I wouldn't attitude it, I wouldn't create in the atmosphere, I wouldn't make a perspective, I wouldn't from the mouthpiece speak about it or get angry. So like a harmonium, right? So like my daughter plays, it's sa re ga ma pa. I cannot say sa ni dha pa ma sa re sa, that's reverse. So if I totally decide today that it's only external work that I'm going to do, outwardly stuff will only be what should we say, limited, and its effect is not going to be permanent. So if I keep the formula that my thought leads to my destination, thought or whatever you call it, like the first step towards that journey of knowing the self, tells me that I'm going to create my destiny. Will I get angry if I know that getting angry on my daughter today is creating a destiny for me? Will I get angry? So the destiny will be good. If I think in my mind, my destiny will be good by doing this, I am going to feel good. So destiny will only be good, which all of us want, when the acts are good and they are originating from every thought that I originate in my mind, in this little mind that we have, all of us. Anything that is manifesting is an energy. So the point I wanted to bring with all these long words is, it's basically the energy that we are creating around us. Thought creates, thought criteria also has some process. The first process being that, okay, well, I get some information. If I'm early morning, if I get up in the morning, many times we hear in our classes from the sisters, they say that don't listen to, too much news early in the morning, say for instance, because sometimes, like in today's day and age, a lot of public news is filled with negativity. I'm hearing about, it's my mind early in the morning is like a very beautiful, what do they call in our language, like a blotting paper. If a blotting paper is totally empty, what is the quality of a blotting paper? It's going to absorb something. If I put a drop of ink, it'll absorb. Likewise, even if I think of it multi-million times, no matter what we do, if I start my day correct, like, I am a, beautiful being, I am a very powerful spiritual being, I am anything that, consciousness, maybe a few words of respect to the self, as opposed to filling the mind with violence, terror, fear these days, so much natural calamities. They're going to be there, what's there. But if I'm just, putting so much on that blotting paper, which is my mind, I'm comparing it to my mind early in the morning or just before sleeping, and I'm filling it with the wrong information rather than doing the cleanse, then we are filled in with the wrong information. And all these sense organs are, going to adapt to that information with this overwhelming information and all the negativity, and I cannot say that only think positive and it's going to happen. So the reason of positive came in because my main trait as that little being is to figure out how I am going to keep the state into a positive state. So coming from that quiet to number one step, coming to a realization where who am I truly? Is that little blotting paper me, or is it that action when it became me, or is it only the external part that I'm going to look after, which we can see that is not going to bring me to the true journey which I'm heading to, is to acquire some kind of that few minutes of calm, peace, and just being by yourself. Even if we close our eyes and sit down for a few minutes, it gives us some kind of um, energy that everybody likes. I believe it's nobody would say, "Oh, well, I'm always happy when I get angry." No, but find what you are good at. I believe that not external quality, but this might be the most um, intricate or difficult path in the process of finding who you are. It's not necessary one, I would say, but I just thought in my mind that what is my next step in if I've realized basically what I am going to who you are, rather than who I really want to act like. I would rather know who I am, basically, right? These little qualities of feelings of goodness, feelings of peace, feelings of nice silence, and quiet. So basically find out what you're good at. It's a gift, basically, if you see that some people, some if you notice in the regular days life also, some people sleep very well, some people don't sleep even if they have everything. If you look at it in the financial world, in the material world, I would call, if they have everything but they don't get a sound sleep. But so it's so important to understand the basic points of this spirituality. The path of spirituality is my basic wealth, the income that I acquire, or I would say, the key to happiness is if I can, given those 8 hours, do I sleep well? Do I, can I get the peaceful sleep, or do I take a pill, or do I take something to bring myself, the body to rest? And then it's same thing, external. We are just putting, you knock off with that one Dayquil or a NyQuil pill. It'll knock you off, your body off, but it's not going to, if there is an issue with that, it's different if you're taking it. But if the issue is internal, deep-seated, am I addressing that? I believe that quit at a time where you have to put too much time and energy into efforts into knowing, if you're really good in doing that, that means that it's not what you were meant to be. So only I can decide, only I can fathom for myself what's good for me, what am I good at, for what am I would say within these 2 points, we go from what you're good at and find out what you're passionate about, basically. So following passion of any kind is a good thing. So, some people, as we are here together, we gathered today to get maybe a state of, word that might strike somebody, as much as possible. We have various different point of views, introspections, but, basically a passion of any kind is a good thing. So if my passion is to be close to, my, what do you call, some people call God, or some people call, looking up at a higher source that may be giving me, everybody looks up to something. So following a passion of any kind is a good thing. So if we've gathered for this purpose, we're looking that purpose, my purpose as discovering myself should be somebody who's higher. I always look up to for that power. We need to pay attention when it comes to, to searching for this kind of a identity. First to look for myself, and then to find that identity that I will connect the very best with. So we need to pay attention when it comes to an area of life which I'm looking to change, looking to make a betterment, or you need to pay more attention to, say, for instance, if you're talking about passion in spiritual life, I want to learn meditation. It's a good thing. But in an outwardly world, I'm going to compare both internal and external. In an outwardly world, if I say that I have a passion If I want to, do something, it's my passion to design clothes, for instance. A fashion designer says that it's a good thing. And if we are talking about having more passion in life, it is a good thing. Focus more on passion. If what I did this talk towards is that I wanted to create something that a normal person can relate, that how my passion of designing clothes can be very well in comparison with my knowing the real virtues. The designer is feeling that cloth, the silk. I like to design something with that silk, like that canvas where the painter wants to design something. But here we are looking for that life, the inner source, that goodness in me, understanding myself in better ways to find out who I am really. And you'll make a bigger impact on not only the self, but the people around you. So passion is a word which, what should you say, produces or creates effort, and continuous effort is equal to results, I believe. As even in our work life, even in our personal lives, in our family life, if we see, passion is something that if I am looking forward very, very interestingly to do something, there is no stopping me. So on the hindsight, knowing the self, discovering the true little self in me, my relationships play a very, very big role in our life. You are a little bit of, say, for instance, if I do a clergyman job, that role that I play, the relationships I come in along with as a mother of a child, a large aspect of, very, very big aspect of knowing yourself can be found if you really emphasize on within the relationship circle that we all of us have. In that relation, why would we want to know, assess your relationships? Why do we say that? Because you will, when you realize, basically, you will never truly know anyone else until you discover yourself. If I don't know myself, how am I going to be able to discover my other relationships? The importance of knowing yourself becomes basically a prime necessity and more apparent in the whole process of living a life with a lifestyle with the people at home, people at work. And this, I think it should resonate to all of us, that this truth especially rings true in our minds. If you look at it like this, look at it like this, the big business people, for instance, that Jim Pattison, business leaders. Because if you don't know the people, if a person, the big team leader, doesn't know, a mother of 5 children doesn't know her own self, how do you think it's going to know the other people around me? Am I able to perform? So the same way, taking a professional and a spiritual life, I wanted to compare that. Am I, and it's easily people can relate to it. So if I really, really know what the essence of this whole team of 4 or a mother of 4 is, then you will be, available to everybody as a, in a lead position, or as a mother, as a leader for all these 4 or 5 children. But this rule also applies, if you notice, to any relationship in your life. It could be me, that higher power with which I, or whom, who's not a human being, but could be a being and is a being. Almost as much as you need to know yourself, all of us need to know ourselves. It is more important that other people also need to know who you are. And sometimes, it might be a challenge. People need to know not the outwardly white colored dress that we are wearing or a black coat we are wearing. It's the internal you, maybe a self challenge. That's what I said in the beginning, a strength finder test, which can be used as our reflection into, fighting our biggest fears, for instance. Because when you understand what I am meant to be, just that little peace, smile, little small little things, our purpose will finally become bigger than the positions, than my fears, basically. So comparing, why I mentioned that word position is because comparing it with an outwardly world to a inner feeling which some of us create in form of fears. For instance, the pandemic we were in, how much it has taught us. So, when you realize who you are, what will happen then? If I realize who I am today, then I will spend less time, think about this, in spinning those circles, your wheels, focusing I will become more focused, more, dwelling on my own inner strengths, which are going to give me or yourself the need, what do you call that word, that needed big, huge traction to begin making a bigger, better difference in my surrounding world of relationships, within the house, within the family, within the the domestic and and the outside family. And when you know yourself, that one little person, you will find definitely, if we all agree to it, with all those external layers as I keep on removing, with understanding that my journey is basically to um, understand that if I wanted to get angry and I knew that my destiny would be made if I get angry, will I really get angry? So if I'm thinking a little bit wrongly about you, that she's always in very, she's creating hurdles for me in the office, and I know that I'm creating these kind of little thoughts and they might lead me to my destiny. Just as a layman, think about it. We're not going to achieve much. We're only going to think that if um, we're going to achieve a lot if we are going to understand the process, that yes, my thoughts are really creating that ultimate result in my life. What do I want ultimately? That little piece by knowing the self, and you will, I think, not only I will find success, success will find me quicker than ever before. So, let's start taking a little bit control of our destiny. That was our main aim of getting together today, to have a comprehensive study together and jointly, of self-discovery, that all of us must ask ourselves today, that there is nothing purer than the path to discover the true, how should I put it, true meaning to or of life, of each one of our lives, the purpose of existence. Why do I exist even, right? And the acknowledgement and connection within the self, and the force from within, to the outside, becoming my attitude. If I'm keeping that inside with a little bit of inner work, that, okay, my destiny is created when, it's a very large word, destiny, but just think of it that if I think maybe a little bit differently than what I normal way I should be nicely thinking about people. If I'm thinking negatively, then it's impacting, my own, say for instance, you're baking a cake, and I know that putting this ingredient in that cake will not bring the final result to the optimum level that I am expecting it to be. How am I going to do that? I'll be very particular about every ingredient. I wanted some prunes, I wanted some water of that limit, whatever the other things are, the white flour, the vanilla essence, everything has to be in proportion. But I cannot bake the cake first and then say, well, these were the following were the flaws, and I'm going to now go back retroactively and correct them. So basically, self-discovery is a very beautiful point. A person is closer to realizing our own true dreams that we all build, and those passions around us, that that's when everybody in life realizes and comprehend or understand the value that each of these goals that we are going to hold in our lives, to those acquisitions, not physical or material, but acquisitions of peace, acquisition of, no matter what the other people are thinking, what am I going to think like? So these little 6 points, I said, well, I'll create a situation where I'm going to show in present a very beautiful work environment or something like that, or a domestic family, or the other side is when I'm working on myself. What's easier? It's better that I correct myself, look for the changes that I want to make in my life, because it's about the self-discovery today that we're talking, just feeling completely detached with all the existing things that we have to do, the tasks, the grocery list that I have to complete, but just buy myself few minutes. So I have a very beautiful, I actually wrote them down, but I remember most of them what I wrote. 10 points that I did, that questions that everyone must ask themselves in order to discover that inner being, who this Manisha speaking through the mouthpiece, but who is that inner force? The other day, a very big example, on last Thursday, myself, I was feeling very weak in the body, and that's how you realize that there is a inner power, inner self, that energy that runs this body, and that energy, when that's totally run down, and something, you loses the power, you the body takes an impact as well. So if you've got to keep that being very, very powerful, you need to work on those few points, and we'll address each one of these as I thought about in my mind. What would be those 10 things that could be very empowering for all of us? Basically, thinking that, oh, well, how is it that she mentioned 6 points, but then what is the gauge to that self assessment? So, what about myself? Say, for instance, number one would be, what is it about myself that I like the most? It's not external we are talking about. Perhaps, the most important goal in everybody's life is to be acquiring that inner sanity, the peace, and that is absolutely not possible without accepting yourself exactly the way, who, and what you are. So, why the first question must be, what about yourself do you like and appreciate the most? This is because unless I know who I am and I accept the process, self acceptance is the building block, you can say, towards the next step, which will be what aspects of your life, all of us, let's ask ourselves a question, that what aspects of all of our lives do I wish, say each one of us, I'm saying that let's ask each one of us, ask ourselves that what aspect of my life I desire to see a change in. What is that place? Just as it's very important for all of us to fathom, know people around us, or maybe to know what's very positive in my life, what is good is happening is perfect. I have no problem when things are happening well. Equally necessary, I would say, is to ask oneself what basically is in the sphere of my life, what aspects of my life I wish to see the change in. So this is our tip going to be for today, that what aspects of life do I wish to see the change in with regards to myself? Because if I'm expecting, that's a very hard word to, if I'm even looking forward that somebody should do this for me or do that for me, what is it that I must do that might be, trigger that action in the person in front of me? So this helps to improve the quality of you, not only as a being, person, by working on your negative aspects rather than just saying, oh, well, these are my negative traits. So this may be a more reformed way of saying that, oh, what is it that I'm going to find in myself that I wish to see the change? It's first is to understand, accept the self, then build on that area where I need to see the changes. And a lot of it can be achieved in our process, as we see with the process of meditation. Go in the inner self, they call it detachment and introspection, introvertedness, to know those qualities. How am I going to know that what I want to change unless I sit with myself in peace and just by myself to know that what is it that I really need to change? And not to underestimate the value of those fears. The basically confronting one's own fears, I would say, is a milestone, a very big milestone. Conquering of the fears and insecurities all of us are faced with today is only possible when all of us are going to recognize that and understand the inner me, who I am, this is my quality, I want to change, what my fears are. And hence, the next thing that all of us are going to be able to do and ask ourselves is, what are my fears? Can I address them? What holds me back when I'm doing something? What holds me back in sitting back in the silence? And let me, we've all heard from that big writer, author, that fear is only how deep I allow it to be, how deep my mind allows it to be. I was reading a book and it's written in that fear is only, of course, it's just a creation of our mind. So everything starts with the mind. You want to have a better, positive mind. We have to go back inner self and understand that what my mind is constituting of, all these self-discovery with the thoughts that I'm creating. So why not, might as well work on the thoughts. So besides what I like to about myself the most, what do I, what about myself do I like the most? What are my fears? And what aspects of life do I want to change in? These three, I thought that what will be my next step towards the discovering more better self of me as myself is, what am I grateful for in this life? I believe gratitude is a virtue that all of us possess as in our personalities. And personality is basically my habit of how I look, perspective of my habits, my perspectives, my attitudes compromise the personality that we all have. And the most important virtues of a person basically is one of them, not only, but one of them is gratitude. How much gratitude it truly internally, in order to understand and appreciate all the things that hold value, some value in our life, and maybe render you, all of us, not only me, but render you and myself and everybody thankful for what we have acquired in terms of keeping this mind peaceful. Remember when we said, well, if you got 8 hours to work, 8 hours to sleep, but how many of us do sleep those 8 hours properly? So should I ask myself today that, so far in my life, what are all the good things? And who are all those people who led me to those good things in my life that I should have gratitude or be thankful for? And what would this help you with? I believe that this would enable you, me, everybody to access all the people who mean the most to you, but most importantly, who has been there for you in times of despair, times of need. And here comes the point where I would like to bring your attention to. When we started this session, we said we're discovering the self. Then who is it that who's been there for you in times of despair, besides the family, besides the friends, besides the when all the phones are switched off, there is nobody when you call. There's always, sometimes we had those times in our life, all of us, where we sat down, maybe sometimes in outwardly tears, thinking that there is somebody there still who is going to help me. Who is that? Who is that source? And discovering that source by way of how we meditate in Brahma Kumaris, in the Raj Yoga meditation that we learned, the supreme source, that think about that, sun is always shining out, whatever the hours of that sun are, like from 8 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. in the evening, it is giving sunshine to everybody. All I needed to do is, at the right time, the right, discovery of the source at the right time. So this is like a little bit step further, where we need to learn the whole process of meditation, which is what we do in our meditation centers. But bringing your attention back to the point 5 of my discovery here, then the next step from the, what am I grateful for? What were my fears? And what were basically my actions, fears, and everything? What am I grateful for? Now, the next step I would navigate this conversation to is, am I happy doing what I am currently doing? I mean, nobody can force me to do something that I don't want to do. Another life-changing, absolutely life-changing question is, am I really, really happy doing what I'm doing? So everyone must ask themselves, maybe if not every minute of the life, periodically, we all should address this issue with our own inner selves, is whether or not, or actually, I am happy doing what I'm doing currently. Is it really what I want to do? Or just instructions of those maybe who have dictated to you that this is how life should be. This is how, if things should be, right? And if the answer is no, then you must ask yourself, what can I do? What should I do? Or what can be done, maybe with the help of spiritual, how should I put it? I don't want to just keep on talking about meditation, but it is the tool basically to learn how to, meditation is a tool. It's a word which means meditatory, to heal the inner self. So if I understand that And nobody can force me to do anything. We don't want to live. I am so grateful to this study and the knowledge that we acquired with these sessions, that we were made to understand, not by some person, by understanding. And with that understanding, when we got the experience, I understood that basically, I don't want to live in a victim mode. If there is a choice always, let's put it like that, there is always a choice. There are more better beginnings. There are better things there there are more doors to open when one closes, put it like that. So what are the most important things I have learned in life, basically? So this is just a discovery. So if we draw a chart to ourselves, those 6 questions that we asked, and these 10 little points that I said, well, it's always easier, to human mind. Either I show a visual or we do some bullet points to understand that, okay, well, these are the few self-assessing gauges which will help us to understand what are the most important things I have learned in my life. It's a big question that proves indeed very, very helpful when addressed regularly. It's very important to, rather than just thinking about something which is not very pleasing, it's better to do these things for yourself. And when addressed regularly is the one that asks, so far, let's say that so far in life, what are the most important things, Manisha, that you've learned? Which of the lessons have been life-changing for you, and what changes have you brought about within yourself, positive or negative, regardless, to your life based on these learnings, the lessons? So basically, who inspires me? Put it like this: who inspires you, or who inspires me the most, and what is it that inspires me about them? So the inspiration also that we learn together in these sessions, when we meet together, or we read, or we look at those, beautiful videos, we understand that your inspiration also could be, it is my choice where I determine to get my inspiration from. Is it some temporary source where I go to a temple? I went to maybe a music class today, and I played that beautiful harmonium that I play, and I felt very happy for 20 minutes. And then when I came back, that inspiration of, that really nice, beautiful feeling came down, So very insightful questions. And what source of inspiration should we be relying our intellect on? Who is the person or that personality who inspires me the most? What is it about that personality that inspires me the most? So for me, because I got the beautiful opportunity from Sister Claudia to speak today, for me, that personality, I would say, is, of course, we're not talking about the physical relationships, but for me, that lies in that, beautiful first thinking, that who is it that puts that beautiful silence in my mind? Who is that personality? The answer would be that supreme source, that source that I would always look up to, that, this will give you an important outlook to every one of us on what exactly that you're working towards in life, and what necessary personal changes must you make in accordance with achieving these goals. Because, and who's going to help you achieve them? If I was capable of doing everything on my own with the energy and the power of the inner mind, I would have done it. So somewhere maybe my inner, mind power is lacking something. That might be like, when we need some vitamin C, we are taking a supplement of vitamin C. Like I mentioned that last Thursday, the body felt very weak. So taking those 4 or 5 pouches of vitamin C really got the body back in shape. So we must let go of the life we have planned, not just holding back to it all the time. And learning about the self would be as to accept the one that's maybe waiting for us, or we've never thwarted or looked up to that source. And a better understanding of those, most of us have done these courses that are in the session, but if some of us have not done those sessions, the acquisition, this is the biggest acquisition of life. And not how important is money to me, for instance. Some people ask in meditation sessions too. It's a very important question, as our goals in life must be very, very explicit. My spiritual goals, my goals for the bodily life, and my goals for my mindful life. I call it more than, spirituality. So it's a very important question that will determine our course of life, where I spend, because one of my seniors in my office always tells me, because he's associated with our meditation center as well, and he says that, Manisha, 8 hours you do your business or work, and the balance of 8 hours that you do in your life is what creates your future. So if you really think about what he's meaning here, is really very nice. How am I assigning my time, my priorities? What exactly is my priority in life? Resources that are available to me towards what's most important to me. So if I am, we have all this resource available to us, am I really using it? In the case, the answer is that, it's not only the physical priority. It leads to question what exactly and what um, truly is a definition of your current priority in life, and what should you be doing to acquire it. If my priority is today that I always feel that within this pandemic, all I did is, was panicking, I was in fearful situation, then think about our state of minds for a minute, where we all felt that, no matter how bold we were, we did feel that jerk, we all felt it. And that's where came the power of mind. Am I sending my child to school? Am I taking my child out in public without that mask? Just physical, I'm relating it to the physical activity in the course of our minds, how it runs. So if I really want to go back for a minute, and before I conclude and we do a small meditation, I feel that time has come where, where do I see myself from now, 5, 10, 20 years, if at all, right? So where do I see myself in future? Only when you recognize those, um, like we said, is it the physical world more important or the inner world? The more inner work I will do. Hasn't this pandemic taught us how to sit with ourselves in peace for a few minutes? We all were saying, oh, some of us used to say we never have the time. But you know what? We have all the time. We're still doing everything we did. So in realistic and achievable manner, whichever can be achieved, keeping in our mind our duties physically and responsibilities towards family, always there, can you work towards your inner goals? Attention away from my physical limbs and focus on the self, myself. I listen through these ears. I am looking through these eyes. I am behind these eyes. In the center of this forehead. An eternal spark of life energy. This light energy empowers my body. I am a non-control being. The eternal soul that acquires the power and security from the Supreme. This body is only a costume I wear, and I reside in the center of my forehead. Peaceful and light. I am a star radiating light, finding deep peace and contentment within. I now know my true inner self. An eternal, peaceful soul. I am floating in the ocean of peace with no confusion. Absolutely. A deep, deep silence comes over me. My thoughts, my feelings, actions, and personality becomes peaceful. Om Shanti.